For those who are wondering, Cold War, why the Cold War? Well, for the reason is that the Cold War is an interesting time period between World War I and, well, right now. It is not something a lot of games cover, but it is the longest quote-unquote war since World War II, with tech changes driving warfare to a whole new level. For me, the Cold War campaign is a great idea. Not only is it really represented in games, but because the Cold War was everywhere. Although Enlisted is known as a first-person shooter free-to-play game set in World War II, it doesn't have to be the case. The reason is that as of right now, the game is in a bad spot, with some of the most major battles in Europe already being covered. Enlisted is probably going to move on to the Pacific. And if you haven't watched my video on the Pacific, I highly suggest that you do. But even after Enlisted releases the Pacific, Enlisted is still going to be in a tough spot, since all of the weapons in the First World War have already been covered at that point, rendering any major campaign after the European and Pacific theaters a copy and paste. Therefore, I have a suggestion. Why don't we implement the Cold War? Hello, my name is Napoleon, and today we're going to be talking about implementing the Cold War in Enlisted. Ever since the Modern Conflict event came out, I was quite interested in seeing a Cold War campaign in Enlisted. For those who are wondering, Cold War, why the Cold War? Well, for the reason is that the Cold War is an interesting time period between World War I and, well, right now. It is not something a lot of games cover, but it is the longest quote-unquote war since World War II, with tech changes driving warfare to a whole new level. For me, the Cold War campaign is a great idea. Not only is it really represented in games, but because the Cold War was everywhere. Enlisted has a rich history of wars to work with, and the Cold War NAC already have. For example, some of them include the Angolan Civil War, the Cuban Revolution, the Greek Civil War, the Algerian War, the Yom Kippur War, just to name a few, and that is not even scratching the barrel. And most importantly, Enlisted is going to have a game that is set in World War II and the Cold War, which is something that makes it quite unique and interesting, especially with the squad system already in game. With the reasons why we should add the Cold War in, let's talk about how. Historically speaking, the Cold War never turned hot, meaning that World War III never happened, thankfully for you and me. However, that doesn't mean that we don't have any good campaigns or battlefields. Honestly, Enlisted should have way too many battlefields to work with, if anything. Therefore, because of the long span of the Cold War, I would like to divide the Cold War into 3 periods: the early war, the mid-war, and the late war. An example of the early war is the Korean War, to be exact, the Battle of the Chosun Reservoir, because it was set in 1950. The mid-war, which is either the Six-Day War or the Vietnam War, depending on what you prefer. I honestly prefer the Vietnam War just to give some diversity, with the emphasis on the Tet Offensive. That is pretty interesting for me, with AK-47s and M16s. And in the late war, we have the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, to be exact, the Pajir offensives, in which the Soviet Union was actively trying to take out the Mujahideen. For all these campaigns are not perfect, of course, but some of them are going to have problems, but they should be a good representation of what we can expect in the Cold War campaigns. I personally have a lot of hope for the Cold War. I believe it's going to make Enlisted a whole new, better place. I believe the Cold War is just going to give Enlisted a whole new mechanics, like helicopters, ATGMs, just to name a few. Honestly, I really like the Cold War, because not only are we getting more diverse, we're also getting more into modern times. That's it, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I will be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.